Welcome to Barry Charles Footy Show. On today's video, we will discuss last week's games, look at some talking points from the round, like were the Warriors dudded by not sending off Jesse Ramian, but they also imploded themselves. Are Parramatta the real deal? Kieran Foran off to the Titans. The Dalian points from the last two rounds since I missed last week. And the Friday night previews, who I think will win on Friday Night Footy and Magic Round. Remember, kids, to subscribe to the channel as you're getting 2 videos a week, free starting from now. What a steal deal, just like buying some KFC. Click the like button so this video can go into the stratosphere. To send it out to all the footy lovers all over the world. Enough with the formalities. Let's talk footy. Adam Reynolds on Thursday night absolutely carved up a masterclass over the Rabbitohs. So the question mark remains there for you Broncos fans. Is when they need to get into the grind or come back from 12 points behind. They seem to falter and give up. They haven't had that for a few weeks, but every time they seem to get behind, the Broncos struggle. They look like a top 8 team, but they're nowhere near a premiership contender this year. And who's the person they're missing? Cameron Munster. Cha-ching! Got to sign that Cameron Munster for $1 million a season, the Broncos, if they truly want to be a premiership contender. And the jury is out if Kevin Walters is the right coach, because if you listen to the way he talks, he just cannot decide on his spine from week to week, and that seems to be very costly. Even with Adam Reynolds, he hasn't said, you'll play number 6, mate, and I believe in you. And that seems to be the problem with Kevy. He doesn't pick and stick. On the Rabbitohs side, there's a hangover. With Cody Walker, 1 week playing like a Superman, and then the following week he plays like he's a park footy player. Does he need to be dropped to be sent a lesson? I don't know what's the best thing to do to get Cody Walker up for game after game. Just like a few players, to me, it's just not happening for him. The only positive for the Rabbitohs in the next 4 weeks, they take on the Warriors, Raiders, Tigers, and Titans. If they can't win all those 4 games, then they are not a chance this season. They really should win all 4 games. But to be honest, the way they're playing, they'll be lucky to win any. And Saturday night's game is a danger game against the Warriors, because the Warriors are up and down. 1 week they'll play hopeless, the next week they'll actually play not too bad. And this is a danger game for the Rabbitohs. When everyone's expecting a Rabbitohs victory, that's when the Warriors could deliver an upset of the round. While the first Friday night footy game, the least said, the better, because it was an absolute bludger of a game between the Bulldogs and the Raiders. And it's clear to see that neither of these 2 teams will be playing finals footy in 2022. Sadly for Jared Croker, I think he might have just played his last game for the Raiders. He just doesn't seem to be up to it, and unfortunately he's getting injury prone now. He's been a loyal servant to the Raiders, but he needs to go out. But he may get a few more games before he retires, but to be honest, I'll be stunned if he plays after this season. Looking at the game of the round, the Eels and the Panthers, Junior Paulo just absolutely carved up. Absolutely carved up with Clint Gutherson. They played outstanding against a good Panthers side that were there to win as well. The Panthers just got it done. And to be honest, Panthers probably needed a loss to get some complacency out of their game. It was good to see Brian To'o back, which is exciting, but the big talking point for me is a couple of players in the Panthers side. Charlie Staines is in and out of the team all the time, and he's good enough to be playing every week. So why isn't a team like Parramatta chasing hard to get him? Absolutely. Mid-season signing for Parramatta absolutely would be a big buy. And also Stephen Crichton, who is coming off contract. He has to be a Parramatta buy, because there's a few other clubs that I'll suggest later they could buy this year. But I think you should buy both of them, Staines and Crichton, and play them on one side, and they can play together and absolutely be a 10-year foundation players next to each other. That's what I think a few clubs could do with, even the Rabbitohs could do with these players. But Charlie Staines is just getting wasted there. He needs to go somewhere else if he wants to play week in, week out. And on Crichton's side, I can't see him leaving the Panthers, to be honest, because I think he's going to get a decent enough offer that will keep him there. But if he's really chasing the big dollars, then he will go somewhere else. And looking at Parramatta, if you're looking into the future, what has been the danger signs for Parramatta? The end of season fade-outs has been one of them. Not delivering against some of the lower teams, but beating the likes of the Melbourne Storm and Panthers. That's been an issue for them to stop them being a real top 4 team year in, year out. And the question remains over Brad Arthur, can he deliver in finals footy? Obviously, the spine of Parramatta is arguably the best in the comp. They've been playing well this season. Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown having their best seasons by far. Jefferson and Reid Mahoney, you always know what you're going to get out of them week in, week out. And obviously, the Storm and the Panthers are the only 2 teams that have the same type of very good halves in all positions. Let's have a look at Saturday footy. The afternoon footy. Wasn't it great to see a sold out old school Brookvale Oval, Pines Park, with the 3 Trbojevic brothers playing in the starting lineup for the first time? And to be honest, the game wasn't a great game, but Manly got it done. I was expecting Manly to win this one by 50, but then there's arguments to say that the Tigers have improved under Michael Maguire the last month, but I bear to differ. I just think Manly aren't the team they were last year and are just struggling in a few key areas. One of them is defence. They're just not gritty enough like the old Manly would be, and that's the worrying sign. They've got enough tech to win footy games, but their defence is not tight enough against the big teams to deliver. And that includes out wide with Morgan Harper just struggling with the pace of the game. He just doesn't seem to be quick enough in this game. And also their front row rotation just seems to be a little bit off key, and they're just struggling in that area to really get some punch out of their forwards to lead the platform for their backline to deliver what they need. So what's the talking point out of this game is obviously Kieran Foran going to the Titans. To be honest, he's just chasing the money. He would only got about half of that at Manly if he stayed in Manly. That is the only reason he's leaving Manly. It's nothing to do with, he's loyal to Manly. If he was really loyal to Manly, he would have stayed. He's gone for the money. He's gone for the payday. It might not be super payday for some, but for his time of the career, he would get more than Benji was getting paid. Yeah, to me, I think it's not the greatest signing. He's a very good player, but I don't think he's going to deliver as well at Titans. He's not going to have a dominant halfback next to him like Jerry Evans. You look at Jamal Fogarty, if he was there, then I would have said that was a very good buy. But Kieran Foran is a risk, obviously, and with injuries as well. He's a very good, solid player. Don't get me wrong, I think he's number 2 behind Cameron Munster in the number 6 jersey at the moment. Like, if Kieran Foran was joining like a side like maybe the Sharks or even the Tigers with the way they've been signing, Jackson Hastings could deliver as a dominant half for him, as well as Nico Hines, which will allow Kieran Foran to play his natural game. But at the Titans, he's going to be the chief playmaker. And to me, that's just not going to suit his style. And some old off-field antics might come back into his game at the Gold Coast. And hopefully he stops the gambling, but that is the worry about going to is he just going for a holiday? Like a few players have in the past when they've joined teams at the end of their career. That's a little bit worrying for the Dolphins signing the Bromwich brothers. We'll see. Well, my prediction is clearly wrong that Michael Maguire was going to be sacked this week. He is still the coach, but I'll be stunned if he survives to the end of the season. He should be gone, but there seems to be something about the Tigers that maybe he's going to get a reprieve, because they have signed quite astutely with Isaiah Papali'i and Api Coruscant. They could do with a number 6, like the Kieran Foran situation, if they could find that, or a dominant half. One or the other. And who is that player that they should be looking at? If on players that are off contract, it has to be Sam Walker. He would bring the X factor the Tigers desperately need. And I would just say, give him $1 million. I think if they said $1 million, Sam Walker will sign, seal, deliver, because there's no way in the world that he'll get $1 million at. I think you got to take the risk. Because I think Sam Walker, to me, could be an immortal. That's how good he could be. Now, there's been so many players that have started their careers like Sam Walker and just disappeared from the limelight. That is the worry I have for him. He is super talented. He just needs the right coach around him. And I don't know if Trent Robinson is the right coach for Sam Walker. I think they need someone that's a little bit more flamboyant. And to be fair, the Sharkies are sneaky for Sam Walker. Being under Craig Fitzgibbon and let him play his role game, because Matt Moreland's not going to be around forever. So that's going to be the talking point. Is where's Sam Walker going to be? Is he going to stay at the... I think one of these clubs are going to go boom. They're really going to. Even Knights. They could be a sneak play here. Don't know if they have the money, but $1 million. Someone sign Sam Walker. I really think he is the next best player in the comp. And if you can't get Nathan Cleary, he is your next bet for mine. And obviously the Tigers, as I said before, they could... Crichton and Staines would be absolutely astute. You put a few of these players with Sam Walker, with the signings they've already had, this team is the top 8 team and getting on the cusp of being a premiership contender. So if he could sign a few more players, he might get another season, Maguire, because there's not a lot of good coaches around. So there's not like a standout coach sitting in the background. You could argue Flanagan, but outside that, you're taking a risk on a new coach, which has been rocks and diamonds for teams. Anyway, back to the footy. Roosters versus the Titans. To be fair, this is another game that wasn't the greatest. It was okay early on, but to be fair, I think the Titans were bad. It made the Roosters look a little bit better than what they were. Obviously, Sam Walker and Luke Keary looked a little bit better, but again, it was against a weak team, so I wouldn't judge this game as saying they're back in form. They're going to have to take on a tough team and beat them, and then I'll say they're back in form. But obviously, the Roosters' number 9 stocks is really down, and it's really been costing them. They need something more from there, and I don't know where they find it. They've let go of a couple of 9s as well to the Warriors. It just seems ludicrous. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they got to go with Lachlan Lamb at 9. I don't know. They got to try something there. But to be fair, what's doing? I think Sam Walker's number 7 and Luke Keary's a 6. They're trying to make him a chief playmaker. And I think they've got the Cooper Cronk factor going on here. Cooper Cronk, there is not many Cooper Cronks around. Luke Keary doesn't direct the team. And Sam Walker is so flamboyant that you can probably teach him to be one. Give him time and teach him, Robbo. But it seems like Robbo doesn't want to take his time. And if you really look at the NRL, there's only 2 players in the NRL right now that play the Cooper Cronk style game. Or you could argue there might be 3. Nico Hines might be working his way towards the 2 players right now are Nathan Cleary and Adam Reynolds. Now, Nathan Cleary is consistent all the time, and he is looking to be definitely as good as Andrew Johns. Now, Adam Reynolds, not quite a Cooper Cronk standard, but very solid player. And outside of that, you have to train your own players because at the moment there's not many Cooper Cronk type players out. So that's the question for Robbo. He's got to pick and stick with Sam Walker, or let him go and quickly find someone else and stick on him. Now let's look at the shock team of 2022, the Cowboys. Chad Townsend, Peter Hiku have just brought this little bit of steel and consistency to the squad that has really got them flying. And with the likes of the young guns like Nanai and Lukey have really just made this team different beast in 2022. Now, what's doing Knights? They were on top of the world after 2 rounds, and then after that, they just look like a wooden spoon winner. And it doesn't look like there's any end in sight anytime soon. I believe they have a few players back this week, but to me, I just don't know where the one's going to come from. The only good factor they are playing the Bulldogs, so they have the opportunity to maybe pull off an upset. I'll talk more about this a bit later. While on Sunday footy, the Storm just absolutely outclassed the Dragons. And to be fair, in the last month, the Storm have been the best team in the comp. And I'll give you an inside scoop right now for the weekend's footy. The Storm will beat the Panthers, and the Panthers will have their 2nd loss in a row for the first time in 2 years. And one of the big stories coming out this week, I got the exclusive here, straight from Brad Fittler's mouth. You got to be dreaming. You're in New Zealand, mate. Well, I'm telling you now, I think Pappenhausen will miss out on the State of Origin. I just think that he's too limited in where he can play. I think at the moment you could argue this fullback and dummy half at a pinch, maybe 5'8". But I think he's going to pick and stick with what he's got, and I think Jack Whiten will possibly get that 14 role because he can play everywhere. He can play fullback, centre, wing, 5'8", hooker, lock. He can just second row even if he needs to. He can play all over the show, and I just think loyalty will be picked there. And there's also Nico Hines that can probably arguably play a bit more than Ryan Pappenhausen. So it's a tough for Ryan Pappenhausen because, yes, if James Tedesco gets injured, they can replace him with Turbo, as I was saying before, Latrell. So that's going to be the interesting thing for Pappenhausen. I'd love to see him in there. I think on form he deserves to be there, but I just got a funny feeling Brad Fittler's going to leave him out. But he could be 18th man. What's happening with the Dragon? Well, I think Tyrell Sloan just needs to go back to fullback. They're missing a fullback in 5'8". They've got 2 young ones and they pick and stick. They got rid of Corey Norman. If they wanted experience, they could have kept them, but they're going to be inconsistent for a while. And just let them play and let them deliver. But yeah, to me, the Dragons just don't look like a top 8 team for me. And there's an argument the top 8 that it is right now will be the top 8 come finals. The only question mark probably is there's 2 teams. More than likely, Rabbitohs have a chance to put 4 wins in a row. If they won 4 in a row, the Rabbitohs would probably be in the top 8 by the end of the season. But question marks whether they'll win these 4 games in a row. Yes. The last game of the round, wow. The Warriors, well, they were just absolutely pathetic. No other word to say. They were absolutely outclassed. Look clueless. Sean Johnson needs, I don't know what to do, to be honest. The way he played, he probably shouldn't be in the team next week. He had a chance to say, yes, we're top 8 material. We will absolutely carve up here. But it was Nicho Hynes that led the show and absolutely kicked to the corners, did everything he needed to do, that Sean Johnson needed to do. It was just an absolute travesty. And also, there was issues with Nathan Brown and his prop rotation. After 30 minutes, he took off Matt Lodge and Fanua Blake. And by the time they got back on, the game was already over. 25 minutes for Matt Lodge and 30 minutes, and Fanua Blake was off. That is how long before they got back on the field. Matt Lodge should not have been out. He should have been back on with 10 minutes into at the most, if it was, or even less than that. And then I think the game would have been a totally different result. And also the question marks, were they sent-offs? Should they both been send-offs? Should they have been 10 in the bin? To be fair, Dinkum, they were both send-offs. And for whatever reason, I think he was too scared to go or send off another player. But to be fair, even if the other guy was sent off, Jesse Ramian, it didn't change the result. The Warriors were just absolutely it's just one of those games. Just frustration. What can you say? They just weren't good enough. And on their performance, they won't make the top 8. I thought they were a team that could make the top 8 this season, but on their performance, I can't see it. It's just not enough. I think they'll be on the cusp of the top 8, but I just think they've cost themselves. They've got a team. But I'm interested to see these two signings of Lussick and Volkman. Would they put Volkman straight into number 6? That is going to be an interesting one. Do they think, because they did sign him, and you also got Luke Metcalf coming next season. So Luke Metcalf must be thinking to myself, am I coming to the right club here? Am I going to be stuck again behind players? I think he's got to go, boom, make a statement here and name one of these ones. Freddie Lusker could come into 14. I don't know what he'll bring. He's only a fringe NRL player, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets a go this week. He's more likely to get a go than Volkman, I'd say, first up. But I think Volkman, if they think he is the real deal, he should just go straight into 6. And they'd be sad for Dajun, who's just come into the team, and he looked good first up, but he was out of sync in that second game. And this comes to the coach, Nathan Brown. The Warriors got it wrong at the start. He is not the coach that's going to deliver a premiership. And I'll be stunned if he survives the season. They need someone tough, old school, no compromising type player. And if they can't get an old player like a Steve Price or Ruben Wiki, someone that they will respect, they've got to go for one of these Aussies. They've got to go for... They missed out, obviously, on Todd Payton, who was one of those players. But Jeff Tuvey, Jason Riles, or Shane Flanagan. One of those 3. They were excellent players and have been great coaches that will bring the toughness that they had in their playing games and bring it to their squads as coaches. All of them have proved that in whatever team they've coached. Jason Riles has been in a good system for a number of years, and he is another player that would have no qualms in changing his team around a team struggling. So for me, Nathan Brown will go this season. I mean, the biggest thing Nathan Brown's ever done in terms of done anything is slap Trent Barrett, who's a Kendall anyway. So really, was that a big thing Nathan Brown did back in the day? Coaching is a results-driven business, and he just hasn't delivered for any NRL club he's been with. So Nathan Brown, after this, unfortunately, he won't have another coaching gig. Well, not a head coaching gig anyway. Now, if you want to look at coaches that have been astutely picked, Craig Fitzgibbon for the Sharks, that was just a perfect fit. An old-school, gritty style player he was, fits how the Sharks like to play. Good defensive team, really hard-working team, and it was a perfect fit. And the Warriors need a similar type of player. He might have to be a little bit relaxed with some of the Polynesian players, but to be fair, they just need someone that's going to tell them some hard truths and deliver. Well, let's wrap up this show with some dallying points of the round and my preview of the Friday night games coming up. Well, if we go back to round 8, there were some very good performances, but Cameron Munster just absolutely carved up for the Storm. He got the 3 points, well deserved, absolutely too good, Cameron Munster. 2 points, Scott Drinkwater. What a revelation at fullback for the Cowboys over the last few weeks. He's been outstanding, and as I said earlier, and these programs, he should have already been there, but they finally got in there, and they've won every game since. At one point, Cody Walker, Rocks and Diamonds performances, he was outstanding for the Rabbitohs last 2 weeks ago, but this time he was should be left right out this week, but they'll keep picking him. And going into the games, it's just been James Tedesco. Hat-trick, just had to be, he was outstanding. 3 points there. Cameron Munster again was outstanding. I had to give him 2 points, even though Harry Grant got the 3 points from the Dalian, but I thought Cameron Munster was the difference in that game. And 1 point for Nicho Hynes against the Warriors. He absolutely orchestrated a beautiful win absolutely show Sean Johnson how to win a game with 12 to 11 men. Absolutely too good, Nico Irons. Well deserved. So, quick tips for Friday night footy. Bulldogs versus the Knights. Well, everyone is expecting a Bulldogs victory, but this could be a danger game with the Knights. 7 losses. They can only get better, surely. I think they will get better, but I think the Bulldogs will get up here by 12 points. But don't be surprised if there's an upset here. The other game on Friday night footy in Magic Round, it could be one of the games in the round here. Manly Seagulls versus the Broncos, and this is a must-win for both of mine. Both of them can assert their authority in this competition. Now, for Manly, it's the top 4. They have to win this if they want to be top 4 contenders. Absolutely have to win this game because the Cowboys and Parramatta are looking like, at the moment, the top 4 teams with the Storm and Panthers. But Manly have to really deliver in this game to show their worth. And same on the other side, Broncos to really consolidate themselves in the top 8 because they can start really putting a gap between them and the likes of the Dragons, Warriors, Rabbitohs. He would have won. So it's a must win for both for mine. A loss is going to be detrimental to either team this season because I think pretty much a loss for either of these two teams this round. Their top 4 potentials are gone. Whoever loses this game, you can forget about top 4 for mine. It's not impossible to make the top 4 from a loss, but yeah, just to me, the way that these teams are rocketing and rolling, you still got the Roosters in the top 4, and they're not even in the top 4 at the moment, so you'd expect them to improve in the next month or so. So, yeah, those are the games for Friday night. Well, that's a wrap from me here at the Barry Charles Footy Show. I hope you've enjoyed. Remember to subscribe and push the like button right there. Okay, you got to do it. Let's get to 10 likes. Get this channel up and rocking and rolling. And I will return as usual on a Saturday afternoon to talk about the Saturday and Sunday games coming up and any breaking news that has happened in the NRL. Until then, have a lovely week out there. Take care.